Matt Murphy is the playwright and producer for Sex Tips for Straight Women from a Gay Man. The show's been on for almost a decade. It's coming back to Chicago starting on April 8th. Matt, thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Can you believe, number one, that when you first started writing it and putting it on stage, that a decade later, it's still here?
I mean, I always envisioned world domination. So yes, I kind of can, but I'm happy that it actually came to fruition. I knew really right away when the title came to me. Basically, I was looking to develop a show that had to do with kind of sex advice for the world at large, for couples, for married folks, for single folks, straight, gay, whatever. I just thought it would be fun to do a theater piece that touched on this topic. And I was looking for kind of the right angle in, and I was telling my wife about it. And she said, oh yeah, there was this book that my friends and I were all passing around in college, something Sex Tips from a Gay Man. And I Googled it, and there it was, what I thought was like one of the best titles I'd ever seen in my life. Sex Tips for Straight Women from a Gay Man. That sounds like a fun time. So I reached out to the publisher and had a great meeting with the real life authors of the book, Dan Anderson and Maggie Berman, best friends, he being the gay man, she the straight woman. And they just told me all about their experience in putting this book out, because when they put it out in the late 90s, there was really no book like this that was speaking about sex in this sort of sex positive way, in this clever and witty manner, the way they were describing things. And making people feel good about sex and comfortable about sex and not shy about talking about how to have a good time in bed with somebody.
You think about the late 90s, you think about a decade ago, and you think about now and where we are in the world and what we see on TV, what people are comfortable talking about. But how do you feel that this show, especially like the audiences, for maybe from the first year or the first couple of shows to now, is it still people asking the same kind of questions or curious about the same things? Because I think a lot of this is mainly letting your guard down and being open to the things that you really want, or to connecting with your partner.
That's exactly right. I feel that is exactly what it is. I mean, that is the main message of the show, is to let your guard down and be open to being yourself, in relationships, in the bedroom, with somebody that you've been with for 25 years, with somebody that you're with for 25 minutes. And so I do feel, I have been thinking about that, like, wow, this show continues to go and it continues to kind of get the exact same positive reaction that it's had from day one. And I've wondered about that. And I think you hit it on the head. It's just a universal message about being true to yourself that never seems to go out of fashion. I mean, there's nothing that's like particularly timely or pop cultural about like the advice or the characters in the story. I mean, I think it will continue to sort of feel relevant for as long as people are feeling somewhat taboo about the topic of sex, which seems like an ever-present part of our culture.
Talk a little bit about the show. Audience interaction, there's props, there's confetti cannons. I mean, it's a good time, and you're going to learn a couple of things here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the gist of the premise is that the audience is arriving at a Meet the Authors event, and the moderator for that night is not present. And so there's a substitute moderator, and that is a sort of mousy academic type, our straight woman, Robin Brown. And she has no idea what book they're discussing. And so she comes to find out that the book is Sex Tips for Straight Women from a Gay Man, which makes her start shaking in her boots. And so she sort of forges ahead and, vows to try to lead a scholarly discussion on this topic. And when she introduces the author, Dan Anderson, she quickly realizes that he has something entirely different in mind, which is to give the audience a full-on sex tip seminar, complete with props and audience interaction and sound effects and lighting effects and confetti cannons.
But if you think about the character of Robin and, this role, people obviously remember Kendra from her show, Kendra on Top, being a part of it in Las Vegas. What was it like to have her as part of this, that whole experience?
Well, it was funny because that character, being sort of quiet and scholarly and not open sexually, is the exact opposite of who Kendra is. So when her fans came to see the show, they got such a huge kick out of seeing her, in that that costume, of course, for Robin Brown is very conservative at the beginning of the show. She does go through a costume change where she opens up. And so that moment when Kendra came out in her like Kendra-esque Vegas style dress that we put her in was just like a huge cathartic release for her audience. They were like, woo, there she is. That's our Kendra. Because that other girl, she was very different. So I think people got a kick out of seeing her actually express and stretch her acting muscles. She's a very good actress. And she just basically tore that role apart once she kind of came into her own, because of course, that's sort of naturally who she is. So she was really able to express her inner Kendra in sort of the latter 2/3 of the show when our Robin Brown kind of starts to learn and take control of these tips in her own manner.
And it's, you know, the audience can get rowdy and enjoy the show here in Chicagoland, but people can also purchase VIP packages so they can be one of the contestants or one of the participants that gets to go out on the stage.
Yeah, birthday party, anniversary party, bachelorette party, whatever the case may be. Mother's Day, we get a lot of Mother's Day groups actually. And so, yes, there is audience participation in the show. If you know that you're bringing a group and you want to see one of your VIPs within your group up on stage doing some funny things, then those group packages are a great way to do it. But because of the audience interaction, there's a lot of unpredictability about it. So I think for people who are coming back to the show multiple times, it's always something fresh and different because of all that, variation from night to night.
Then you got plenty of opportunities to go ahead and check it out here in the Chicagoland area, starting April 8th, running through July 2nd. Greenhouse Theater, 2257 North Lincoln. Sextipsplay.com is where you can go ahead and get those tickets. And Matt, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much.